right now.
Well, then I'm going to ring the bell. Oh, what a pleasure to welcome you all tonight. I am so honored to have Jo Bonita Rain. I worked in the County Office of Education in 1983, and I'm just dying to ask her when she was in the County Office of Education, because this woman is bringing a wealth of knowledge to us tonight. I'm not going to introduce her, but I am just so jazzed that she's here. I had to say that. I'm so jazzed that you're all here. You know, this is a time on our planet when you can be so grateful that you can see the people you love and they're fine. And that's what I am saying. It is so important to just acknowledge that you're a human being and you're doing the best you can. And as we work for peace and wear our Rotary E-Club of World Peace pins, it just makes me very proud. We're going to go right to our speakers tonight because we have a little opening by Peggy. And I went on the website and checked it out, and I know what to do now, Peggy. And then we're going to go straight into our speaker, and then we'll have time for questions and answers after. But I'm going to just tell you, I'm Barbara Gahn Mueller. I'm the 4th president of this Rotary E-Club of World Peace. So that makes our first president was 2 years. Then we had Karen for 1 year. Then, so actually it's our 5th year. Starting our 5th year. It's just incredible that we were how would you say that? We were setting the pace because we started out as a Zoom club. We knew that people needed to have a way to connect and to talk about peace and to talk about the 4-way test that Rotary has for us. And we knew that Zoom was going to be the methodology for the future. And so I thank Rudy for being our Zoom master. And Rudy, with that, I give you the floor and please welcome our group.
I will do that. Thank you so much. First, I wanted to mention that one of our members, Estera Borsia, has been in the hospital with COVID-19 with her sister. Both of her parents were in there. Her whole family's had it except one sister. Her mom made it back home, and her father's still in the hospital. She is back home now, and her sister, they both had to come home on oxygen, but they are back home. So please keep Estera and her family in your thoughts and prayers for healing. That's a tough disease, and it ran right through her family. And secondly, let's keep the folks over in Beirut in your thoughts and prayers. I did reach over to one of our Rotarians in that region who happened to be outside of Beirut for the summer, fortunately. But as more information comes in, we'll let you know. I'm sure it had some impact on our Rotarians in that region. There was a terrible blast over there, and all the folks over there, we just need to keep them in our thoughts during this time. Sis, good to see you tonight. Reggie, great to see you. Hopefully you're going to join us here. You're up in New York, and you got an invite from Dominique. Andrea, we got a fire over here in the between us and Palm Springs, and she's got the smoke all the way over in Arizona. So sorry about that, but I think they're beginning to get the upper hand on it, fortunately. Greg, good to see you. Anne, as always, great to see you. And we know that you've done a good job with Rotarians for Nuclear Ban. I'm pulling together 2 different programs coming up. One's tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific time. We'll get you some more information. Anybody who wants to join in with that. And Arthur is actually speaking as part of that. Arthur Kanegas, who's a member of our club. Right. And then on the 10th, which is really exciting, and that's at 7 a.m. Pacific time, we have the Rotary International President-elect speaking. And what a coup that you pulled that off on that topic on banning nuclear weapons. So Anne, thank you so much for that. And we'll share information with our members.
Yes, credit goes to Richard Denton for that particular coup. He has friends in high places.
There you go.
Speaking of Richard, he and Ann are going to be honorary members of our club. They've been nominated if they didn't know it.
There you go. Honorary, not honorary. That's good. So that's great. Thanks, Ann. Yeah, I see her on. Peggy, we'll hear from Peggy in a little bit. She's not really in Hamburg. She's enjoying Evanston. Robert, where are you?
In Boulder, Colorado.
In Boulder. What Rotary Club are you in there?
The Boulder Rotary Club, which celebrated its centennial last year. And we also have a peace builders team,
Yeah.
of which I'm a part.
Super. Well, thanks for
And,
joining us
and
tonight.
Susan Connolly is also with us from our Boulder Club.
Super. Thank you both. Terry, good to see you. Lisa, as always, great to see you. Marcia, thanks for joining us. Warren, you're staying cool at the beach there. Brian's grandson keeps getting bigger, so it's a good job there. David, everything's cool. There you go, up in Ashland. There you go. Mark, good to see you. Sala, we keep seeing each other 2-3 times a day now on Zoom somewhere. Carol, good to see you. Dominique, everything's well there.
Still see me?
We are working hard. I'm giving away masks on behalf of H3 Mission in District 5330. So
Great, thank you.
material masks. And maybe wheelbarrows. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Super, thanks Dominique.
Yeah.
Elle, great to see you. And Jack, good to see you. Catherine, everything's good down under? Staying safe and COVID free. And let's see who else we got on here. Dr. Canati, good to see you this evening.
Good to see you, and glad to hear that some folks from my neighborhood from Boulder, Colorado. I mean Denver.
Yeah, there you go. you have friends in high places too.
I do.
And
From
they do too.
Republic of Boulder.
6,000 feet.
There you go.
Yes.
Tim, good to see you. Jim, great to have you on with us tonight. Cliff, chilling out up in the Bay Area. Mary Jo, great to see you.
Hi there.
No. We got a Buzz Aldrin. No, Buzz somebody. Susan's on here. We already got mentioned. Ann, good to see you. I think you were with us last week, Ann. So good to see you. Rick, where are you from?
Lake Oswego, near Portland. I'm here as a guest of Al tonight, Al Jubitz.
Oh, thank you.
And he's leading a charge in this area for racial justice and peace.
Perfect. Yeah, keep us up to speed on that. We've got a couple things working in down this area too, so we can learn from each other. So that's good. Buzz?
Hi, I'm a guest of Al's also from the Beaverton Rotary Club.
All right. Good. Welcome. I don't know that I missed anybody. I think we got everybody. So I think without further ado, I think we turn it over to Peggy for a little announcement. Barbara, what do you think?
I think yes. You know, Peggy, I went to your Rotary and I started going through how easy it was to donate. And so that's why I wanted you to be on tonight, because I need to make a donation to our Rotary International. And I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. So I called up Rudy and he walked me through it. So I thought maybe you could walk us through it tonight, Peggy. Peggy has always been on our Rotary E-Club of World Peace. And I'm always so pleased when I see her showing up with some new part of the world behind her. So Peggy, without further ado, tell us why and how we can donate to Rotary International.
Thanks, Barbara. I'll start by pointing out the obvious, which is that the annual fund is the lifeblood of everything that the Rotary Foundation does. And because it generates district designated funds and it helps to fund so much of everything in every way that Rotary is doing, including the Rotary Peace Centers and the Peace Area Focus, and I could go on and on. Usually Rotary gets about 125 million a year in gifts to the annual fund. And there's a program called Every Rotarian Every Year. I think most of you are familiar with it. But what you may not be familiar with is how easy it is to give through Rotary Direct, which is a repeating gift that you can set up. And Barbara and Rudy are right. It is so simple. So I'm going to tell you the simplest way to do it, and then let you know that there are other ways, and I'll be happy to help you with those other ways if you want to explore further. But essentially, in order to set up Rotary Direct, you go online to My Rotary and you can click the donate button. There's also a little button that says directed giving or recurring giving, but the simplest way is click the donate button, click the annual fund, and then it gives you the option of setting up a recurring gift. That can be, it asks for $25, but you can give $10 if you want and set it up as a recurring gift, monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever works for you. I like doing it quarterly. It's just easy for me. But it makes it possible for every one of us to give at least $100 a year. So all you have to do, go to My Rotary, click the donate button, find the annual fund. You've got a bunch of choices, but I'd really encourage you to click on the annual fund and set it up, and it'll walk you through it. Do you want to give quarterly? Do you want to give monthly? And then make your decision, and please, please, please consider at least doing $100 a year, $10 a month. We can all afford that. For those who are in Australia, and I don't know if there's anybody in this call today, but if there is, call the Parramatta office and they will walk you through how to do it. You can do it with Australian dollars. And there are sometimes people want to do it through a savings account and you can't, or a checking account. You can't do that online. You have to do it through a Rotary staff person. So just, again, shoot me an email and I will connect you to that staff person. So I promised I would only keep it to 2 minutes. I think I used up my 2 minutes, but let's help this club get the Every Rotarian Every Year club banner and the 100% Foundation Giving Club banner, and go online, go to Rotary Direct, and that's how we can all do it.
Okay, now I forgot to say this. Peggy, tell us what you do at Rotary International. What is your position, title?
Director of Planned and Major Gifts. So
yay! Generally
what I do is I focus on working with very generous donors on rather substantial gifts, including my love, the Rotary Peace Centers.
That's great. Thank you. And I wanted to make sure you understood that Peggy came from knowledge. She didn't just come from the regular group of people. She works for Rotary International. And it's just such an easy way for us to get another vote of distinction. Thank you, Peggy. Perfect. Okay. Now tonight, I think I'm going to introduce Karen Westervelt. Karen, am I going to introduce you to introduce our speaker?
Yes.
Karen Westervelt is my friend.
No. We don't.
No, Karen Westervelt's not my friend. What?
Oh, you are.
Karen Westervelt's my friend, and she is the one who got us these pins to diligence and resistance to any other people saying, oh, we don't want that pin. She went forward and she got us the right pins, and we're going to all get our new pins. The other thing about Karen is she is the second president of our Rotary E-Club of World Peace. Under her leadership, we did so many new and wonderful things. Her goal is that we all become of service in our communities, that we become the action that we want Rotary to represent in these different communities around the world. That's the best part about being in the Rotary E-Club of World Peace. We come from all parts of the world, and every week we get to experience speakers who enlightened us and give us information that we need to bring into ourselves and to our families. So without further ado, Karen, would you be our special speaker introducer tonight? Introduction by Karen Westervelt.
Our speaker tonight began her career as a bilingual teacher in the LA school, that's Los Angeles, Unified School District, developing classroom materials that were used with Spanish and selected Asian language students.
We can't hear you well.
Keep talking, you're fine.
Okay. Anyway, she's done. I'm gonna. No, I'm not. Oh.
I'll help you, Karen.
Okay, Joe Bonita, introduce yourself.
You guys, this is so phenomenal. When Rudy told me, okay, I will, Karen, but I just have to say, when Rudy told me about the E-Rotary Club, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm not very techie myself, but I thought we have 2 large counties And I thought the San Bernardino County Rotarians working with the Riverside County. And then Rudy shared with me, my husband's a Rotarian as well. He and Rudy work very well with Karen as well. Anyway, bottom line is, I learned that you guys are from all over, which was so phenomenal. I think it's fantastic. And so to be asked to share with you some of the experiences I've had and work that I've done related to cultural diversity and unconscious bias, I'm pleased to do that. What Karen was sharing was that, well, first of all, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, African American, during Jim Crow laws, in the projects, and was very Southern. And when my family moved to Los Angeles, that was my first integrated educational experience, starting in the 4th grade. And because I was from Memphis, the LA Unified School District assumed, and you know what that does, that I didn't have the education necessary to really function in the Los Angeles schools. So my mother said, test her, which did not make me happy. Bottom line, I was tested. Instead of being in the 3rd grade class, I had to be put into a 3rd, 4th grade class because my education level was closer to 4th grade abilities versus the 3rd grade abilities. In the 6th grade, LA Unified School District values speaking a second language, and they required all 6th grade teachers to teach Spanish, irrespective to how they pronounced it. If you want to say, este papel es blanco, this paper is white. My 6th grade teachers, one had just come out of the military, he would say, este papel es blanco. Which was absolutely the wrong accent, everything. And so we got a student in the school, and she sat next to me, and she was from Peru, Lima, Peru. And she said, if you help me with geography and history, I'll help you not sound like the teacher. So that worked out really, really well. And so I went through LA Unified School District. I was accepted at UCLA due to my academic standard abilities. And then I got a phone call saying, hey, Jo Bonita Smith, that's my maiden name. We don't have any more space in the dorms for, I don't know if we were Black. We hadn't progressed, I think, to African American, but there's no more space for you at the inn, and therefore you can come to our university, but you cannot stay in the dorms. And I shared with you, I'm a Southern girl, and if your daddy tells you that you're not going to drive that whole distance of 35 minutes to UCLA, then you just don't do it. And I applied to Cal State Los Angeles, got accepted, was told apparently I was given the grades because there's no way a Black girl could have the education. Now, this is not during Jurassic Park. This was right, Barbara?
You're so funny.
But this is really everyday life, and this was in '62. So I was required, I'm just giving you this little summary to show we persevere through all of this. We are all exposed to so much stuff. This is not just unique. It is unique to me, but in circumstances, it really covers a great deal more. So the head of counseling checked me out and said, there's no way you could have this score on the SAT test, this academic standing. He required that I take remedial reading, remedial language arts, remedial math, and remedial something else, I don't remember. And you have to get assessed in order to determine what level of remediation you need. And once the tests were done, the professors of these courses called me in and said, is there a mistake here? And turned out through the discussion, the biases of the head of the counseling department once who saw me suspected either I had cheated or my parents were so affluent, they were movie stars, so they bought my admission into Cal State. And you know what I'm referring to, maybe some of you. And there is no way I possibly could have been that academically astute. Therefore, I was required to do the remediation. When I took the test came out perfectly, and they said, you know, we can't override his dictate, but come back and tutor or come to the last class so we can sign you off. And I did. And it's an attitude that you know that you are not limited by someone else's perspective. With unconscious bias, his approach towards me, as well as at UCLA, was a conscious bias. It was a practice. It was something that was in the normal, not out of the normal. And so that's the conscious side. Interestingly enough, when I walked in to be assessed at Cal State to see what level of remediation I needed, I was seen by 2 Caucasian doctors in their field. And when they saw me, the body language did not say, thank goodness you're here, we're going to help you. Their body language was receptive. I walked in, here's what the requirements are. After the test, we'll talk. After the test, we talked. They saw me as an individual, is the way I felt. They saw me as a person who they realized consciously that I had been consciously placed into remediation because the way I look and maybe my zip code. So knowing all this, I could have been bitter. But when I was in Memphis and my dad took me downtown to go shopping, and I was like 4 years old, I needed to go to the bathroom, and I saw the woman come out of the bathroom, and I said, oh, I'm going to the bathroom, Dad. And he pulled me back. I had long hair. He grabbed my hair, grabbed me. You can't go into that bathroom, he said. You need to read the sign. And I sounded out. He said, say it. White only. He said, you're not white. And that means you cannot go into that bathroom. That sign says colored only. And that's what you are, is colored. And you can go to that bathroom. And I said, okay, but I've got to go. And that one looks really bad. He said, I expect you to not to forget this experience. I expect you to make changes occur. I said, okay, but can I go to the bathroom? So I did. And I think that settled somewhat in my mind. And I've been very, 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 very blessed that my experiences in conscious and unconscious biases have given me the feeling of competence is in all amongst us all. It's not colorized, which is part of the unconscious bias. People who look like me sometimes are perceived by those in charge. Either she was given through affirmative action this opportunity, or they needed one of her kind on the job. And Barbara, I did work at LA County Office of Ed in 1976. I started out there, and I worked there for 17 years, providing resources and trainings and collecting materials on, I had about 93 cultures in the curriculum materials that I was accumulating. And it wasn't like Google the information, because I don't know when Google started, but it wasn't then. And I was able to work with people from the variety of ethnic groups, and we came together as committees and we put together data and resources for the educators. Now, this introduction is, I'm infusing the concepts of unconscious bias. What was so phenomenal was to have the opportunity to, because of my job and the level of my responsibility, I got to meet a variety of people. And I had a chance to learn firsthand about information about their history, their culture, how this was in need, this information would benefit the learning experiences of students. Such a thing was, George Deukmejian was our governor back in the day in the 80s. And he awarded, I forgot how much money, for a committee to be put together to write a curriculum guide for educators throughout the state on the history and the culture of the Armenian diaspora and genocide. I was overwhelmed with the learning, and we put together the information. We had a training organized. I got a call from the Turkish Consul General, who reprimanded me for doing something as undermining the whole culture and history. But I was able to stand up. Here, this African-American female, born in Memphis, lived in the projects, now was able to pass on information and share this. In that job, Barbara, LA County office had no idea. They had hired someone who was sort of feisty, somewhat an instigator, somewhat inclusive, someone who enjoyed learning about individuals. With unconscious bias, we have ideas about what people are like. People who look like ABC, this is what I've seen, I've learned, I've experienced maybe. This is what they are like. And you don't realize sometimes that that's occurring. These are subtle experiences that you don't realize that take place. When my daughter was, I lived in Pasadena at the time, 6 blocks from the Rose Parade. So the Rose Parade was totally into the neighborhood ideas and things. And my daughter wanted to be a batoner, meaning she wanted to march in the parade. But she says, Mom, every time we watch the Rose Parade, all the batoners have blonde hair and they have light complexion, they're white. I could never be a batoner. I, as a parent and as an educator, began looking for batoners that would help my daughter realize it wasn't just mom saying that she could, but there were examples. One such example is that I worked with Lakeshore Educational Materials. We did a lot of great things. They had a lot of resources. One of the things they didn't have, and I foolishly gave my information away, my ideas, is every doll for the girls to play with were blonde, blue-eyed dolls. And I told Charlie Kaplan, says, you know, Charles, you need to get someone to help you bring in dolls that look like the students we've got in our schools. And he said, well, how will I do that? I said, oh, let's find out. Consequently, he had dolls that had brown skin with keen features and straight hair. Well, that didn't work. So we talked about making it something that was really reflective. And he did, we introduced it to the schools, and the schools loved it. The students loved it. And he made money, and all I have is the memory of having created that idea. So if you have a good idea, think about how you're sharing it and how you want to present it. One of the things with unconscious bias is that oftentimes we don't realize what causes that, or that we're thinking this way. And when I worked at the LA County Office of Ed with 93 different school districts, and LA Unified was only one of the 93, it was interesting. We had a school district where they had been primarily all Caucasian students and neighborhoods. And one year they had a Chinese family that moved in, and their 3 kids started at a local school. And then by chance, a Japanese family moved in, and they had 2 kids. Now there were 5 Asian kids at this school. I got a call to say, we need help. We don't know what to do with those kids. How do you treat them? What are those kids like? I mean, phrases that came out of educators' mouths that were laden with biases. They hadn't experienced educating young people who did not look like them. And what happens frequently is that we are more comfortable with people we see who look like what we see in the mirror. When we see those who look different from those who we're comfortable with, we start trying to relate and try to devise ways to describe those people. And we begin using language that puts us in one arena and those people in another. When I went to the school to meet with the principal and the teachers and the librarian, the phrases of those and how did they get to our neighborhood? Who sold them their houses? Why are they here? That was comfortably said. Their conscious bias was not unconscious. It was direct. It was overt. I was in the club because I came from the LA County Office of Ed, so I must have known something to be at that level. But it was really interesting for me to hear the language that was used. And I said, well, if you've got a couple of families, you can anticipate next year you will have a significant number of additional students from those kids' backgrounds. And surely they did. All of a sudden, there was a significant population. Now, I'm using this as an example. There were Chinese families and Japanese families. And the educators were saying, my gosh, I have no idea. What are they? Are they Chinese or are they Japanese? How do I know the difference? Thank goodness that today's time, we are at least a lot more sensitive to the awareness level of what we should be, how we should be looking at our students, how we can see our neighbors, and to be able to feel not threatened, not suspicious, but maybe intriguing, to be interested in learning a little bit more about them. So with unconscious bias, sometimes we make statements that we should have thought about before we made them. Rudy, would you put up the slide, what do you see? It's the first picture. Are you able to do that? Oh, I'm sorry. I put the screen to the side, and are you able to project that?
You stopped the video.
No, it's here.
There we go.
How's that?
Thank you. Perfect. Now, you know we all have seen these tables, right?
Didn't work.
No.
You'll have to reboot your computer to get rid of it.
Are you able to, is there anyone who doesn't see it?
I tried.
That
They can't even hear me.
They can't hear you?
Okay, somebody needs to mute themselves right now.
Everybody.
We're okay now.
We're okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
People on phones can't see
It's
it.
All right. So through our experiences, undoubtedly we all have seen these table examples. And we look at them and we intellectually know they're the same. But subconsciously we start looking at this and wondering, why do they look different? What is making these tables look different? And we began analyzing it. In the very beginning, when we see something like this, we just look at it and we're confused. We generally don't have any confusion. We'll just automatically say, the one on your left is longer and narrower. The one on the right is wider and shorter in length. But in reality, they're the same. And it's interesting, and we do look at that, and we try to measure it visually, and we really try to critique it. But when we first make our judgment call, we say that they're different until we are practicing learning how much they are alike. Let's go to the next slide, Rudy, please. One of the things that I find is that people in today's time in particular are confused as to what are you supposed to say? How do you respond to the issues today? And it's not just Caucasians, it's anybody who doesn't look like that group, whatever that group happens to be. So I want to ask you, if someone came up to you and said, you know, we must all be colorblind and treat everyone alike, what would be your response to that statement? And if you don't feel apprehensive about making it, you guys all know each other, and we'll talk it through.
Yeah, waiting for an answer.
Yeah, waiting for an answer. Anybody?
Well, for me, when that says that, we must treat everybody alike. It kind of opens up two questions. One is, we could follow the four-way test and treat everybody based on that. But is everybody alike? That's the question. But it's not being colorblind. It's treating everybody as individuals. To me, everybody is an individual. We're all one human race, but everybody's an individual.
And you uniquely introduced everybody, their name, their location, something particular about the persons. We're not all alike. We are unique individuals, and you cannot mistake what I look like and what Rudy looks like. You can discern the difference. The term colorblind is to give the intent that I don't see any differences amongst us. We're all alike. Therefore, we can accept each other. I want you to see that I used to be 5 feet tall, but I am no longer 5 feet tall, but I claim it. I claim it. I used to have longer hair, Barbara. It was your length. I used to straighten it in order to roll it up at night so that I can style it in such a cute style. And we were in Australia. I had my hair cut a little bit, something like Salas, and I curled it. I walked out of the bathroom, walked outside. We were in on the shore area, walked outside, and instantly my hair frizzed up, and there went my darling hairstyle. And my husband said, "You will not know anyone but the friends we know here. They will not be able to report back to Los Angeles or to Lake Arrowhead or to California that your hair went frizzed. So just get over it and let's go about learning more about Australia." So there we were on the Gold Coast, and I'm walking around with my hair looking like Angela Davis, but a little bit longer. We are not colorblind. We see uniquenesses. Those of you who are all Caucasian, you are still unique and different. No one confuses me as Karen when she and I are together. We are special, we are unique, and it's not a bad thing. And so you don't have to feel that you have to obliterate anything about the persons, the individualities. It's to be aware that we are unique and it's okay because that's the real us. Rudy, let's go to number 2. And if I'm going on and on, which I may have a tendency to do, you can stop me and tell me I have 5 minutes or whatever. This was something I encountered a great deal. I was alluding to this. Immigrant parents should speak English at home so their children will do better in school. What are your thoughts about that statement?
I taught children whose parents did not speak a word of English. They loved going home because they were a family of people speaking the same language. They did fine in school.
Really?
Really?
And became bilingual?
Yes. And you know what? They not only became bilingual, they became friends. And we were friends even when they grew up. And that's because we were who we were. And we expected everybody. And at the parent conferences, I had the kids sit next to me and translate. Who cares?
Exactly. Supposing the federal government said, "We'll send you all on a trip around the world. We want you to learn some of the languages of the places you went to." Would you say, "No, I don't want to go"? We would want to travel, and at least I'm saying I would want to. Here I am. So this shirt, last summer, in July, we spent a month in Indonesia. And my husband worked very diligently at learning how to say phrases that are polite and courteous, greetings. And he taught me as well. I wasn't too good at learning. I did learn how to say thank you. And to say thank you in Indonesian is terima kasih. But because I'm so intelligent in second languages, I kept saying tiramisu. And so the month we were in Indonesia, and I started out saying terima kasih, tiramisu, they would say, "Oh, look, here comes tiramisu, the best Indonesian speaking woman we ever know from America." So it was a joking manner. They accepted me with my poor attempt in learning how to speak, but it's the attitude. They felt, "Okay, come on, we'll accept you. At least you're trying. You're not from the ugly American that the only way you should speak is to speak English." And so our students, as you said, Barbara, they're learning the confidence of the culture, learning the English, learning everything. And what they're doing is we want them to hold on to their culture. in the sense of having a sense of pride. When I shared with you about Memphis, I go back to Memphis and they say I talk too much and I talk too fast, and not Memphisian as much as I should be. But I still hold on to it because I have friends who can reach out to other parts of the world, which I think is fabulous. And we want our students to feel they can learn to communicate in English, they can learn about the cultures in the United States, and we want them to hold on to their home culture. All right, number 3, Rudy, please. I got this a lot. In diversity training, white males are always to blame for everything. What would your comment be for that?
Yeah. Just kidding.
Just kidding.
White males, any male, there's all women and men together are to blame for things because they don't pay attention to what's really happening. And it's not about color. I went to see Hamilton, and everybody in the whole Hamilton crew was black. And I said to my granddaughter, did you know that Hamilton was black? And she said, what difference does it make, Grandma? They're talented. So you hear this from the new generation. They don't care. They want to hear talent. That's what they're looking for.
Yes. And that was remarkable to see that Alexander Hamilton, to see the actors had a part in Hamilton. They did not have to look like the characters in the production. They had to be able to have that quality of performance, which is unique and very special. One of the things I have done when I've had this statement made by educators or business people who refuse to participate in the diversity training, I say, well, you know what I would like you to do? I want you to notice what I say and I do. Correct what I'm doing. Write down some of the things I may mispronounce, something that I'm doing wrong. And there are some parts I will need some assistance. So if you don't mind, I would like you to help me distribute the things. Now, we who are in education know exactly what I was doing, including the person, giving them some responsibility. And at the end of the trainings, in these instances, I asked them, okay, give me feedback, please. And what their feedback actually turned out to be is all the stuff I had taught. They had gotten it, they had learned it, and they were saying comfortably, actually, I assumed, especially when you walked in being black, that you were going to say how I caused all the problems. And you never brought that up. I should have participated. I said, well, you did in a way. You helped out. So I really appreciate you doing it. We bonded, they learned, and it didn't leave people with a negative feeling. Okay, number 4, Rudy, and I'll try to go faster. All right. I have a very dear friend who's Caucasian, intelligent, competent, caring, sensitive, all those things. Last year, this is 2020, it was 2019, we were talking about a person, and she said, you know who I'm talking about. No, your colored friend. She didn't realize under her unconscious bias that she was saying something that should have never, a phrase she should not have used. And I said, no, I'm not sure. What are you describing? You know your colored friend, your color friend. And I said, well, what color is she? You know, the colored one. And I said, no, what color is she? And we went through that 5 times. And she said, oh my God, I don't believe that came out of my mouth. I said, actually, I don't either, but it shows we all are in the stages of learning. I could have been hostile, but she and I are close friends to the point where she was trying to find a way to apologize profusely. And I felt what was more important is that she said, I learned so much more about the world when I associate with you. I said, well, I learned a lot too from you. And we went on from that. And subsequently, she said, maybe a month and a half later, will you ever forgive me? I said, I've never been anti you. Your statement came from your unconscious bias. When you see that person, you see her color first, you see her gender, you have categorized her into a category. It was a very good category. She's very well off. I said, but it is part of our history. And the reason we need to continue learning from each other is that it is part of our history. And because I'm African American, female, doesn't mean that I've got all the answers, which leads me to the next point I want to make. Biden is running for president of the United States. Joe Biden has said he's going to choose a female for his running mate to be vice president. Most likely an African American female. Now, that said, the African American female may be perceived to understand all the issues of African American females. And she then will be the counter to the white male who might be president of the United States. My mother had 2 daughters. If you were to ask my sister and I the same questions, you would have diabolically different answers from both of us. A Black female will be a wonderful thing to have. It's historical, it is unique, it adds to the information base. She will not have all the knowledge about all African Americans, all African American females. Rudy, you see Karen and I talking. You huddle right there with us, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Right. He knows I'm not sitting in that corner of that conversation at all. It is not an automatic thing that a person who represents the color and the gender will automatically have all that knowledge. An African American female vice president will need to bring in the diversity of females to get a multiple perspective of females, to have a representation of African American females geographically, the whole gamut. So there are people who've made statements to me, hey, look, we're going to have someone that's like you who will be the vice president maybe. Wouldn't that be just great? And I asked them, what are you suggesting? What will we get from a person who might look like me? And they stop. Well, she's Black and a woman. She'll understand everything about you people. And I share with them, we people are diverse. And there's no cookie cutter that says if you have this person, by golly, that's the way they all are going to be. And that's not the way it's going to be. That person will be challenged, but it's a wonderful step to have a greater representation. So I share that because even today's time, we use a variety of things that without thinking, which is part of unconscious bias. We're not thinking about what we're saying. We're just making a statement. So it's being reflective and asking questions and feeling comfortable to say, I was glad, my friend who said the colored one person, I was glad that she was able to continue talking to me. And our friendship stays. And it's wonderful to have that friendship. Okay.
Joe Bonita, we're coming up on the end of the hour. Can we open it up for some questions of you?
Yes, absolutely.
David Wick, you have you had a question in there about sometimes bias comes on so subtly. How do we recognize it? Was that your question, or?
Well, yes. I mean, as human beings, I think we have biases all over the place. But with the racial, it's just like it's outrageous because it's deep history. But I'm just wondering, do you have any thoughts as to how we are aware we're developing biases or have them when it is so subtle?
Where Rudy, Karen, and I live, I can count how many African American women live here on this hand. And as part, I also have the esteemed pleasure, which is really true, a pleasure. I am president of the Rim of the World Educational Foundation, which means I volunteer more hours than I ever worked when I was paid to work. So as a focus with our board, I've shared with them that, we're good people, we donate a gazillion hours. But one of the people on our board was a non-educator. She was in real estate and she said, stop. I'm sick and tired of all of this educational language. You people talk in that language all the time. A bunch of us are not educators, and we're going to start integrating this board. We want more men, we want more professions, and you educators are going to speak everyday English, not educational ease. Go ahead.
Finish.
Yeah, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Okay, so unless we bring it to the front, in certain circumstances, that could have caused the board to say, hey, wait a minute, and be hostile. But we had cultivated the feeling we're in this together. When you talked about donating to Rotary International, you gave options. You could pay $5 a month, $10 a month, quarterly. There are options. It's not just one way. And what we want to do is our interacting with each other. We don't look just for one group. We want to seek out diversity. We want to be able to learn from each other. We want to be together comfortably because we are all human beings, just different styles.
Yeah. Super. Thank you. Derek, you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, please?
Just an observation. What I've discovered, because I do seminars on this unconscious bias, and this was introduced in 2006. So it's a new concept for a lot of people. But the difference between explicit and implicit biases or unconscious bias. But the one thing that I'd like to make a comment on is that in minor ways, we are different, but in major ways, we are the same. And we forget about that.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. It's interesting. I love what you said about stages of learning. I thought that was right on. We are all at different stages of learning, as Derek just pointed out. And I thought that was such a kind way to say, to tell somebody we're all at different stages of learning. And it's, of course, we can't walk in the same path. But I want to thank you for tonight. You really gave us a history of what's going on today. You may not realize how important it was to go back to little Memphis and find out what you started and to have that beautiful story of your dad and then bringing it into the county education office. At that time, when you were in the education office, there weren't a heck of a lot of Black people there. I think Wilson Riles was our state superintendent of instruction. He was my best friend. I ran for superintendent of schools in Santa Barbara, and he was my campaign manager. So I have had a history in education, and that's why I love Rotary, because we're always learning. Are you a Rotarian yet, young lady?
No, my husband's a Rotarian.
That's right.
And my friends are Rotarians. I have, as a matter of fact, we have the Rotary 4-way test. It's going to be what we're going to close with. Because I was sharing with Karen, maybe Rudy was on the phone or maybe he was off listening to another side of our conversation. We had a Black Lives Matter event here in the mountains. I told you, I can count how many African Americans, females, I know on the mountain. Here we are. And so I knew I wanted to be there, but I needed to be there in order for me to demonstrate I am proud of the people coming together and to make a statement about it doesn't make sense to have all these killings. So I informed my board that I was going, none of them needed to feel uncomfortable about attending or not attending. I was attending, representing Jo Bonita Raines. I had no idea what to anticipate. There had been rioting down the hill in different locations. We have small communities here. I had no idea. I got there, got out of the car. First person I bumped into was a Rotarian. And her husband, a Rotarian. And her daughter, who was born, bred, and reared by Rotarians. And therefore, we were together with our mask on and common concerns, common interests, and we were there as sisters and brothers for the good purpose of the right reason. Now, there were people who were anti the protests. It was a rally, and it was organized by young women and a brother of one of them. One was two of the young women, Chris, what did I say, Karen? What's his last name? He's an actor.
McDonald.
Chris McDonald. Google his name. He's made about 8,900 movies.
So funny.
Were organizers of this event. Blonde, blue-eyed, who were never part of the groups that I literally marched with back in the day. And they asked me to speak, and I won't go into all that, but I ended up when my focus was, well, I'll tell you. Write the word human, H-U-M-A, in. Add the letter E at the end. What is that?
Humane.
Oh, you get an A. All we have to do is treat each other humanely. That's it.
Yeah.
Treat each other. And then I said, and amongst us are Rotarians. And I want all of you to go home or on your phones and Google the Rotary International 4-way test. I said, I have it on my phone, which was pulled up by Stephanie. And I read the 4-way test to everybody. And I said, that's all we need to do.
You know what people are saying about you? You're like a breath of fresh air. I'm reading these comments. They're saying that you have to join our club because we have to have more of you. And then they're saying things, and my new friend, a brand new member from Denver, Colorado, a good book that I finished reading that explores some of the learning white fragility Why is it hard for white people to talk about racism, by Robin DiAngelo. So we're having these comments. They're fabulous coming in. You have sparked such a conversation. I cannot tell you. You know, we need people like you, like me. We're outspoken women. We tell the world what we're thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Catherine. She's telling the world in Australia what we're thinking. I look at Martha. I look at Ann. I look at all these people. And I look at Rudy and I look at Derek and that's why we need you. We need one more strong person in our club. So if you feel like joining us, we'll make sure that you are a happy person. Now, with that, I'm going to say, as Rudy said, we're coming to the end. I have never in my life seen so many positive comments, and we get fabulous speakers. No joke.
That's very sweet of you.
Well, you're very, very informed and very real. And that's what we're looking for in our club. We want people to share their life. Let us walk in your path for a while so we can become, you know, like I looked up Rim of the World Education Foundation. Are there more than one of them?
No, there's only one.
Okay, because I wanted to find out more about you. We got to talk education, because you and I were in the County Office of Education, and Wilson Riles and I, he was my campaign manager. I raised money for him. Anyway, we have to share.
To African-American football guy, looking guy, and here he was supporting you. That was absolutely his personality. He looked for quality and genuineness, and that, Barbara, makes me feel that's you, because you had Wilson on your.
He came to the Santa Barbara Club, our most elite club in Santa Barbara, the Montecito Association. I said, okay, you guys, you've got the money, now support the man. We need this man in office. And they just brought out their checkbook, just like when Ronald Reagan came to town. He'd say, okay, shake my hand, but give me a check. And that's the way we did it. We said, if it's time to get this man in office, we've got to pay. You've got to make sure we have the best. And God bless you. And thank you for tonight. Thank you for letting us walk your path.
Well, I appreciate this opportunity. We've got a couple of family members that are having dinner as we're talking. Rudy, if you don't mind, you can share with them however way you.
Yep. I'll, if you don't mind, if any of them have questions, I'll have them email you.
We'll save our chat here.
And we can, and I got the chat box too, so we'll continue.
Thank you, Rudy.
This is meeting recorded. They all know the four-way test, so it's
preaching to the choir.
Oh, there we go.
Beautiful. Look at all this.
Yes.
You see, what you have sparked tonight is what we want every Rotarian in our club to feel. That joy of being a Rotarian, and the joy of living that four-way test, and the joy of walking in each other's shoes. That's the way we believe. Okay, without further ado, Rudy, you want to say goodbye, and I'll bang my little...
There we go. Thanks, everybody. It's been great. Joe Bonita.
Bye.
Bye, Bonita. You're just the best. Joe Bonita.
We can share her email.
Yeah, we'll find.
Okay, bye-bye for now.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Well, they loved it.